And now back in the hot seat.
Yeah, this is fun.
That's nice, man. You were talking to me before. We exchanged emails, actually, and we were talking about sort of the money part of the song. I guess the key, the hook, the riff, the what have you. Tell people about that thing in your head.
I kind of want to guarantee that there's some magic moment that's unique to that song that's going to happen, and hopefully there's a multitude of them. But and sometimes it can just be like a little bit of a vocal break on what you're doing on the chorus or something. You'll lift up an octave, or sometimes it's just a sweet line that you know people will, you know, try and filter through their brain, and a little thought pretzel will happen inside, and they'll go back to the song to hear it.
I like that, thought pretzel. That's
yeah,
nice.
you know, they'll like, what did he mean? But oh, wow, that's cool. And then
It's like the Steely Dan Pretzel Logic album. It took
Right.
me a while to figure that out.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. You know, it's,
Yeah.
it's like it takes you on just a tiny, quick little journey in your head. And sometimes it's a guitar riff or something musical that's created by the band. And, you know, I try and put those things in every song. And sometimes, you know, every verse will have that one sweet little moment. And usually it's in a lyric. And you want the hook on the chorus to be, you know, beautiful.
You know, do you find people misinterpret your songs very often? And if so, do you care?
Oh, I don't care. I mean, some of them, you know, art is really, it's almost like a three-dimensional thing in how it's interpreted. It's meant to be created by the artist, and then it's meant to be presented, and then it's meant to be interpreted by a third party, and they're going to see it through the filter of their lives. So, and that one, they're thinking back. I mean, if you were listening to it, you're thinking back to the girl that you were with at the drive-in,
Right,
and who she was and why she was in your life. So it's not my girlfriend, or it's not my friends. It's you know, those are the people I'm writing about in my head, but people are seeing it through their own filter in their own lives, and so the characters become, you know, cast in their head, and it's cool that way. I think, you know, art's supposed to be, you know, this is why Katy Perry doesn't do anything for me, but why my daughters, who are 7 and 10, think that she's Bob Dylan comparatively. You know, because they speak to her.
You brought it up. I got to ask, what do they think of Dear Old Dad?
They love what I do. I think.
Well, you do bring home the bacon. They got to love that part. But
they love eating. Eating is really important.
The
really
roof
important
thing, the roof over their heads, yeah.
Clothing. They love it.
They like the music, though.
Yeah,
they do. Good.
They do. You know, the breadth of it hasn't quite hit them yet, and probably won't until they're in their 20s. But I'm sure there'll be a moment in high school where they just want to flee from anything related to what I do. But
of course, super uncool. Of course, yes, yeah.
But I've got videos of them dancing as I'm playing guitar, and you know, and I'm so glad I have them, because they're interpretive dancing while I'm playing, you know, those kind of guitar pieces, and it's incredible.
I want to ask you this about family and your life as a musician on the road. You do 200 gigs a year or something like that, right? You're a road dog. You're out there, and I know you're writing about things you see on the road as well. So it's not just performing; it's kind of assimilating and learning. But you've got a family too. How do you reconcile the two? How does it work?
It's tough. You know, it puts a lot of pressure on their mom for taking care of them, because I'm gone a lot. But I love what I do, and I love being a dad at the same time. And it's hard to reconcile the two of them, because I'm in artist mode 4 days a week, and then I'm in dad mode 4 days a week. So it's so there's that little gray area where I'm shifting into one zone and then shifting out of the other zone, and it can spin your head, you know, because you have to be present for them. And sometimes when you come home and you've just done 5 shows in a row, and you just drove all the way home from Michigan so you could be at a parent-teacher conference, like, you're not entirely in your body yet. But there's just nothing like my kids, no matter how grumpy or whatever mood they're in, you know, it's just it's that magic thing.
Is there a song for them on the record too?
Yeah, there are a couple songs that
yeah.
are inspired just by, you know, by loving that loving relationship that you get with kids. It's not. I think they're pretty general parenting kind of songs, but they're artful. They're not sort of in the dorky category of, like, she's brushing her teeth. Now she has to eat broccoli or something.
They're not like the oral equivalent of a picture of a 2-year-old in a bathtub.
Right, yeah,
They're
right.
not-
They're not like vacation movie kind of songs. So, yeah.
That's good. The title track is Chasing Beauty. You want to talk a little bit about that? I know we're going to go out with that as a song.
Yeah.
Tell me where that came from.
That song is about a relationship and a road trip. And looking back at it from where I am now to when I was then, which was in your early 20s, it's about your first road trip when you're going on the highway. You're pulling out on the highway and you feel that euphoria you got when it was the first time, and your parents weren't in the car, and they don't have anything to do with where you're going and what you're doing. And then it's about that relationship with the person and how you're just chasing after experience after experience after experience. And it doesn't really matter, where you are. It's about where you're going next. You might be standing in front of the Grand Canyon. You're like, what are we doing next? Let's go, let's go to Vegas. Let's go, wherever.
It's a hopeful song, certainly.
Yeah.
Full of anticipation.
Yeah, and talking about looking at the span of the narrator's life since that moment and where the relationship is now,
I want to ask you too. You don't do a lot of negative songs, do you? I mean, touch on
No,
harsh.
like you've got a lot of nerve to say you were my friend. I haven't written many of those kind of songs, but I'm sure they're in me.
There'll be a dark album coming at some point.
I'll do it. Yeah, the one where I'm really.
But no, I mean
pissed.
that must be a choice in some way to kind of keep it fairly positive, I would think.
I guess, I just kind of write about what my personality allows to come through. So I love a lot of those songs, a lot of those songs are among my favorites, but I haven't written many of them. And maybe it's just not something I do, but I'm always open. I didn't really have to be pissed off to be, I'm not afraid to be that. So,
Right. Well, all right. Well, we've been talking about beauty, chasing beauty. Thank you for coming here.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You've been watching Boston Rock Talk with your host, Jim Sullivan. That's me. Ellis Paul has been our guest today. And we will see you next time. Ellis, you want to play us out?
Sure. Thanks, Jim.
Go
Thanks
for
for
it.
having me.